Hey everybody, welcome to Game Mess Mornings with me, Jeff Grubb, your host from giantbomb.com. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about how the launch is going for one of the biggest releases of the year and the downsides of one of Switch 2's new features. It's going to be a good one because we have Ben Hanson on the show. Ben, how are you doing?
Hello, thank you for having me on the show. Big fan, longtime fan here. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad we can make it happen. Thanks for reaching out. It's one of those things where I'm on East Coast time. So anyone in a time zone before me, I'm like, is that too early for them? And you're a parent, so it's not. It's definitely not, right? Yeah, you're up and at 'em pretty early.
Yeah, we could do the show at 6:30 in the morning, and I'd be just fine. But yeah, I think I have pangs of sympathy every once in a while for thinking of the people who are like, who's sprinting in the industry, and I think of people like a Jeff Grubb who's scrambling to get guests for this podcast all the time. It's like I see it every once in a while, and I have this longing in my heart of like, I want to be a guest on that. I want to talk more gaming news, and so I'm glad we're able to connect some dots here, man.
Yeah, and I know I've heard from like your community of like, oh, I would love Ben to do a show like this. You're too busy to do something like this. So let's just get you on here more often, right?
That works for me. It's like I think people know it's a tall order. It's like it's a big thing to tackle. It's like, oh, just do a daily news show. It's like soon that can consume your entire life, as you know very well, And so it's like, would that really be the most effective use of time? There's always the debate at MinnMax of what should we do? Which direction should we push in? And you think about, as we continue to expand and maybe bring on more people, it's like, what would be the most helpful thing? Do we bring on a news person and they do a news show every day? It kind of, I don't know, no offense to news people, it kind of busies up the feed, maybe in a way that's like, is it detracting from the views from the other content then? But it's worth it because some stuff might break out. These are the pros and cons of news, as I'm sure you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I enjoy doing it, and got to a point where it's like I could kind of make it a well-oiled machine at this point. Working with Jan makes it super easy, but yeah, it's when Mike takes over, he always tells me, he's like, that's a lot of work. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I do just have to make a huge chunk of the hours in the morning dedicated to this every day. I don't really think about it, but that's just time gone, and we don't get it back. So you know what?
Well, we might get it back. We don't know what happens when we die. We might get all our time back.
That's a good point. Yeah, I'm just putting coins in the bucket, and I'll get that bucket back when I die. You think that's how it works? Which religion is that? Taoism or something? Yeah,
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'll podcast about games when I'm dead. But I think there's something. I don't know. Every once in a while, I think about like I listen to the Game Business podcast, which is a very good podcast out there, and I think about like, is it a rare breed of cat? Maybe I'm playing too much eugenics, but a rare breed of cat that's super into game news to this obsessive degree. Like, is it not as many people as we think? Because I think most people are normal and rational, but there's something where it's like it's fun to stay on top of this industry for as long as we have at this point and to keep that ball rolling.
Yeah, it's definitely a targeted audience. And yeah, I going to GDC, it was nice to hear several game developers being like, when I am driving to work in the morning, we're listening to Game Mess Mornings. It's like, that's okay. That actually is kind of what I was aiming for. So glad to hear that that's the way it's panning out. And the show keeps growing, so it's nice to see. Yeah. So how are things going over at MinnMax?
It's going well. It's going well. Yeah. It's I was just on vacation for 2 weeks, which was delightful, going to Puerto Rico, and I love it down there. And then at the same time, it's like getting to come back. What a privilege. And like sit down and have like those days where it's like, oh, I have nothing scheduled for the back half of this day. I'm just going to sit down and start to like map out the future of MinnMax. Let's send a ton of emails. Let's make some connections happen, line up future interviews. And so it's in that fun kind of crouching down, ready to jump phase. But no, we had a fun guest on the MinnMax Show podcast this week where we had Eric Wolpaw from Valve, writer of Portal and so many other things and stuff.
Absolutely.
Psychonauts co-writer and stuff. So it's fun to have him on because we were talking about, we have this series at MinnMax, which we're lining up more of right now, called MinnMax Spotlight, where we go out and like visit developers and stuff, and actually visit a studio and do a quick tour and stuff. And so we were talking about making one of those with him of just like visiting his farm that he bought in West Virginia.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm like that's a good video. There's a video that's just called like the farm that Portal bought. And then it's just Leo Vader and I like helping out on the farm, like genuinely helping out. I thought that'd be so fun. And he was very on board with it. But then he rightfully was like, it feels too self-serving. It feels too much like, look at me and my farm. So I'm going to back out. Which I guess I understand.
It actually wouldn't end up being that, but I don't blame him for feeling that way. But of course, it would end up being much more interesting than feeling like a self-serving video for one developer. It would just inherently be more interesting. I do have a request for you along the
Please.
lines of content like that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you're aware. You might have been the person that told me about this. I want you to go to the Tim Sweeney tree, the tree that he climbed in that video, and just let's do a whole documentary about him climbing that tree. That's what I want to see.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, we should actually secretly chop down that tree and then make chairs out of it or something. And make walking sticks and sell it. That's what Epic should be selling. Not these V-Bucks, not this nonsense out there.
We're going to be doing the Giant Bomb road trip soon. It's like I want to like go down to the mall that Epic bought and see if we can go like sneak in there and see what's going on with that thing, because they bought that mall a couple years ago and I haven't heard anything about it.
This is what I want from the video game industry, and maybe it exists out there. I'm not sure, but I want like reminders of all those news stories.
Yeah,
and it's the same. I think world news, political news is the same. It's just everything moves so fast that I feel like a lunatic for being like, remember that news story that happened 4 years ago that no one ever followed up on? And like, I don't know if that's an entire position or entire series is like, let's just follow up on old news stories. But is there some way I could just automate a news feed from like 1 year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago to just keep that fresh in my mind that Epic bought a mall?
Yeah, the way to do that is you just go, Chuck, make that tool on Giant Bomb. Get to work. God, I'm sick. He's sick. Well, pathetic. All right, let's get into it and explain ourselves. We're Giant Bomb over here. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you want to support us and support independent games media in the process, go to giantbomb.com/join, become a premium member. Gets you ad-free versions of our shows. Gets you a bunch of cool premium stuff. We just did a new Marry Me Tomodachi, the best and hottest dating show on the internet right now. You can catch that and more if you become a premium member by going to giantbomb.com/join and becoming that premium member. It's worth pointing out, we notice everyone who has joined up with us and supports us, and it means the world. Thank you so much. As far as this show goes, most weekdays, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings, or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Witcher 4 and new IP at CD Projekt Red, or just CD Projekt, gets fresh updates. Here's the latest from Eddie McCoo at GameSpot. Polish developer CD Projekt Red has announced that it's hired more than 200 people in the past year, and that the majority of the new hires came aboard to work on, specifically, The Witcher 4. As part of CD Projekt's latest earnings report, joint CEO Michael Nowakowski said more than 220 people joined the company's various teams in the past year. Most of the new hires are now working on that Witcher 4 to, quote, help improve the quality and scale up the project, which that really does feel like, looking at the bar graph that they provided, looks like they specifically are scaling up. He said the new staff will be working on solutions from the Unreal Fest tech demo for The Witcher 4 and trying to implement these things across the entire game. I'm not a developer. I don't know what that means. As of February 28th this year, The Witcher 4 had 499 people working on it, which was up from 447 at the end of October 2025 and 411. Basically, they have 500 people working on this video game, which is going to be their next one. They did have more here. There's like around 160 people working on Cyberpunk 2, and then there's about 20 to 30 people working on their new IP, which is like Project Hadar or something. I have it written down here, but yes, they have a lot of irons in the fire, but they are intending to get Witcher 4 out soon, and you can kind of feel that when they're like, hey, we have scaled up from around 850 total employees, getting close up to 950 total employees. They're hiring. They're getting busy. Witcher 4 starting to feel a little bit more real.
It is. Yeah, like, at the last NVIDIA community update thing that happened around GDC, they showed off like some tree tech, and it's like, oh, this is being used in Witcher 4, and even just like flying through the forest of Witcher 4, it's like, oh, okay, that's right. I need to remember to be excited about this game. This is going to look amazing when it eventually comes out. But what a privilege to have a company just be like, here's the exact number of people working on these games, compared to most, I feel like, AAA studios in the States, at least, where they just say, we're not comfortable sharing exact numbers, but around 80 is the best we can get for number of workers on these things,
Yeah, this transparency is really cool. I think it is a byproduct of them being a publicly traded company in Poland. But whatever. I mean, regulations are cool sometimes, and this is what we get from that. Yeah, it does sort of signify to us, okay, well, yeah, we could pay attention to this and see just how much they are scaling up. After Cyberpunk and the story there, they probably have learned a lot of lessons about what is required to get a good launch out of a major game like this. It feels like the studio's learned those lessons, right? And will apply them directly to Witcher 4.
I think so. It's just so funny to think of what a disaster Cyberpunk was at launch, and now it's just is the takeaway from Cyberpunk at this point for them being like, mission accomplished, awesome. Like people in my life are still now picking up Cyberpunk, being like, why didn't somebody tell me about this? This is the best game ever, and it's like it's just been such a slow, amazing burn. That hopefully they can get out of the gate a little bit stronger this time. But I'm curious about like in that full breakdown, why weren't there rumors about them making a new expansion for Witcher 3? Does that account for that in there?
Yeah, I do wonder about that. Yeah, were there rumors, or did they even say that? I guess it was a rumor, wasn't it? Yeah, I don't see that reflected here, like necessarily. I guess there's the other category, and that's a smaller handful of people than the new IP by quite a margin, actually. But yeah, I would think that is probably maybe that's still the Witcher 4 team. Maybe that's part of it. Like they're like part of that team is like getting up to speed on Witcher tech and or like Witcher lore or whatever they need to get up to speed on. Yeah.
And it'd be interesting is if, because talk about getting up to speed, it's weird to think of them going back to the old engine and having part of the Witcher 4 team.
They're switching to Unreal.
Right. So is there some way they could do such a standalone expansion? No, doesn't make of like, would it be in the Unreal Engine? Would it like launch a different engine if you booted it up? Like just it'd be weird to
an expand alone, we call it. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit like a Miles Morales. I think that'd be kind of a cool idea, but I don't know how well they could convert what they had built into Unreal if they're doing that. But
that seems like a tall task. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. But I'm curious too about that. If you remember, there was that studio called Molasses Flood that made games called like The Flame of the Flood and Drake Hollow. Yeah. And then in 2021, I think Cyberpunk or CD Projekt bought them, and they were based out of Boston. And now they've just kind of been absorbed into the studio. But they were making a multiplayer Witcher spinoff, which based on that team's pedigree, I would think would probably be like an isometric multiplayer thing. And now that was called Project Sirius. And now with it being merged and it not being accounted for here, I'm curious if that's completely gone, if they just absorbed that into the Witcher 4 team as well, or what the status of it is. But I was curious to see what that was.
Yeah, they were, I mean, like a lot of these studios, they often have more projects and then they begin to call them. They were doing, didn't they have plans for like a multiplayer Cyberpunk thing? And that got scrapped a few years back. And like, obviously, I think they want to put their eggs in the basket where they expect to get the biggest return on investment. But yeah, I mean, look, things have worked out for this studio. You mentioned it. People coming up to you talking about Cyberpunk at this point. They said that as well in this public disclosure that sales were up this year and largely due to selling Cyberpunk. I bet a big part of that was Switch 2, launching the game on the card entirely, having it run well on the Switch 2, being the standout third party game at that time. They're probably, hey, yeah, we saw we reaped those rewards, and it's helping us continue. And it shows us just how much these games can live on. There was a time when catalog sales did not account for much of a publisher or developers like this is business, and now it's something that they can not rely on, but can sort of build into their model of, if we put this much effort into this game, it's still going to be making us a significant amount of money 5, 6, 7 years later. And it's not the only example of that. Skyrim being the most obvious one, and that one's maybe a bit egregious in how they've done it. But there's a way to sort of rely on these games making money for a long time, which gives me some confidence that like we can continue getting these big AAA games in a world where the investors for these kinds of studios demand big live service things that are these lottery tickets that just make all the money in the world every year for 10 years.
Yeah. I'm curious if CD Projekt is factoring in the success of like Cyberpunk Edgerunner and like how that boosted the game again to have that successful show.
Yeah, that
running.
That
and it's like, but at the same time, it's like, are they going to get any drop of excitement from like The Witcher season 9 starring a different actor once again? It just feels like a zero. And so like, I wonder if even at this point they're thinking about trying to sync up. Could we do a Witcher animated show or something that would launch at that same time as Witcher 4 to kind of bake that bump in?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that they are wondering for sure because they were the poster child for
Yeah.
getting success from a TV show on Netflix. That first Witcher season was the one that showed everyone in the industry we need to be doing this. So they're well aware of that. Whether they're able to replicate that or rescue whatever is happening with Witcher on Netflix, they probably know that's a knot that's hard to untie.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they're curious if they can do that. There was a Witcher animated show. Yeah, people are saying there's a Witcher anime. So it's like
Oh, is there?
they already played that card as well.
Oh boy.
Yeah, Liam Hemsworth is probably not doing them any favors. Yeah, that's
Who
just
knows?
not working. All right, let's keep going here. Pearl Abyss has a huge launch on Steam with Crimson Desert, but it also gets mixed user reviews. So let's just hit a couple of the numbers here, and then we'll talk about it. It peaked at 239,000 concurrent users on Steam yesterday. That's a Thursday. So the expectation, as usual, is it will be even higher on the weekend. That is, a massive number. A couple years ago, I remember Sekiro being like one of the first times I noticed and wrote a story on like GamesBeat about the concurrent numbers on Steam when it launched, and that had like 80 to 90,000, and that was really, really, really good. So, and since then, more people are playing games. Steam grows all the time. So these launches have been bigger and bigger. This is enormous, and it's despite the some of the reviews that were a little bit cooler than I think a lot of the built-in pre-baked fandom was expecting. The people coming from TikTok, but they also just didn't care about that because they decided they were going to be into this game because of what they saw in those TikTok videos. Now, since launching, we're seeing the user reviews, and there's a lot of them dropping on Steam, and it has 68% positive reviews, which is mixed. And I was saying I was kind of expecting it to be like a soft positive, just because a game like this, it's huge, it's going to have technical issues. People are going to have problems running this game for whatever reason. That stuff will probably get a little bit more ironed out over time. It didn't seem like it was going to be a cyberpunk, oh, this game is falling apart at the seams, but it does have some technical issues, and that's definitely a lot of the reviews. But it's not all of them. Quite a few of the negative reviews are talking about, hey, this game is not for me in the way I thought it was. It does feel like an MMO that has been turned into a single player game.
Right.
So there is some like, is this what I was hoping for? And then there are still quite a few positive reviews, but I think this is reality setting in a little bit for this game. I wonder, Ben, do you think it's going to matter? Because it's so successful out of the gate.
I am so confused about this.
Yeah.
TikTok, you're saying? I feel like the oldest man on earth for being like, is this the reason? Because in my mind,
yes,
it was like, oh, this game, it would get trailers every once in a while, a Keeley thing. It looked ambitious. All right, moving on. And then it was like, listen to the Friends Per Second podcast and Skill Up over there. He's like, oh, this is the most trafficked and hype I've seen from the community since Elden Ring. I was like, wait,
yes.
What? Crimson Desert? What is happening
Crimson
here?
Desert.
And TikTok is the answer?
It's TikTok and Instagram Reels, yeah, but it sounds like specifically TikTok. It was popping off in the way Elden Ring popped off after it came out, before it came out. People just hyping it up, and we have Turbo Sean over here that was kind of like talking to some of his friends, and he was explaining to me, it's like there are a lot of people out there that are very strapped for cash, and they compare this to something like Resident Evil 9, and that conversation about dollars per hour it's just something that sticks in their craw. And this game is promising the exact opposite: endless hours of content for the same price or similar price. And it just feels like this could be the everything game that the casual person does very much want. And it looks like the everything game that just looks beautiful and gorgeous like a modern AAA game. So it kind of fulfills a lot of these fantasies about what you could get out of a video game, or at least it looks like it was going to do that. And I think for a lot of people, a big bucket of content, and especially if it looks pretty slick, is still more important than a very super well-considered video game like a Resident Evil Requiem. But yeah, this thing was popping off because of social media, and we were seeing some pretty big numbers about people being interested in this, and that's just our community who is very tapped into just, they're not on TikTok for the most part. So some excitement about this, and that translated immediately into massive out-of-the-gate sales.
That's amazing. Yeah, now everyone's just complaining about the controls and trying to wrap their heads around, okay, what actually is this game? If it's packed with everything, is it a jack of all trades, master of none? But I guess just that scope is the appeal in some ways. So
yeah, so I spent some time with it. Jack of all trades, master of none is exactly how I would describe it.
Okay.
And not finding the core fun and then branching off from there, and instead just like, I got a bunch of branches. Can I build a tree out of that? Kind of is what they ended up doing here. And it's like, very much an anti-Jeff game. So I'm continuing to look forward to other people who have varying opinions from mine. But as I play more of it, I continue to butt my head up against it pretty bad. And, yeah, the core issue for me is moving the character around feels terrible. Other
than that,
right? And it's like, people are like, oh, you had frame gen turned on. It's like, yeah, I did. I had it turned off previously. And when I was doing that, the character still felt very sluggish. Combat has never felt too bad. Like, that's okay. It's decent. It feels like Assassin's Creed. A lot of the game feels like Assassin's Creed, actually. Even now I try to turn off frame gen and the game crashes. So that's where I'm at with this thing. Yeah, I'm going to keep playing it, but I do wonder like where the hype goes from here. Does this thing carry this momentum forward? Are the people who were excited about it still talking about it in 2 weeks, in a month, the way that we were about Elden Ring? I really don't know, Ben.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, I know everybody's too laser locked into Steam concurrent users and all that stuff, but I mean, we've seen it recently where numbers were very high and then it dropped off. But with a game like this, people might stick around. But I am rooting for its success, just so maybe we'll get more funding going into Doka V. The only game that really matters here on planet Earth is Pearl Abyss's Doka V.
Yep, that's the weird sort of Pokemon on a treadmill, like getting fed into a machine game, right? Yeah, it's got just like this game. That one also has every single feature possible, and they have guns, right? Do they have guns in that one as well? I can't remember.
It's been a long. Believe it or not, it's been like 7 years or something since we've seen that stupid trailer.
Has it really?
No, I bet it's been 5 at least.
Okay, that's still nuts. It feels like just yesterday, Ben. I can. While you're doing that, I'll also point out technical issues. One of the things that could be contributing, at least in some way, to the mixed reviews. Mixed reviews on Steam, as they call it. The game is not working on Intel Arc GPUs at all. Just straight up doesn't work. And the studio is not being like, hold in there, we'll help you. They're saying, yeah, it's not going to work. Go get a refund. So it's kind of a little bit of a bad look, although Intel Arc GPUs are by far third place behind AMD, which is by far second place after NVIDIA. Still, though, that's, it's 5 to 6% of the audience, and that is going to hurt those numbers a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, last time I'll derail this podcast and drag things back to Doka V. But
don't promise that.
No, at DICE, I heard some developers talking and publishers talking about like, well, of course this happens all the time. And I had never heard it, but it was seen as common sense. I'm curious if you've heard it as well about like, well, of course people just release trailers and there's no intention of making the game. And the trailer is just a way to test the wish list.
Whoa.
Like if a game gets wish list, then it's like, all right, let's actually put this game into production. And if it doesn't on the reveal trailer, then all right, it's dead forever. Like it seems absurd, but then again, it's like, why wouldn't you do that? I guess that
why
does
wouldn't
make
you
sense.
do that? I mean, once you explained it like that, I'm surprised, but I'm like, why was I surprised? If that makes a ton of sense. So like the Steam wish list thing is so crucial. There's a reason every developer talks about it, and every trailer does end with add it to Steam wish list. And this is one of those games that did get a lot of Steam wish list and was in the top 2 or 3, and that was powering a lot of the excitement as well. So I guess if I were a studio, why wouldn't that be a strategy? That's a really interesting idea.
And I guess you'd burn trust, I guess, with people of just being like, hey, this game's coming. Oh, never mind. This game's coming. Never mind. And it's like, it's still,
it's not one you could do all the time, right? It's got to be, it has to clear a bunch of other checks before you pull that card, right? At least I would imagine. You don't want to be the studio that has 15 trailers for games that never actually came out. That would be troublesome. 1 or 2 games where it's like, well, no one cared. So we care about Doka V. Of course we do. Does anyone else at this point? I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah. But I mean, I could see that being in that arena. I mean, the trailer came out November of 2019, and it's like they're probably just like, all right, let's just gauge it, and then okay, let's build up a team and actually try and make this thing now.
Exactly. All right, let's go ahead and take that break. We're going to go to these ad messages, but you could skip out on these if you become that premium member. Go to giantbomb.com/join. There you can find ad-free versions of the audio and video program. In the meantime, we will be right back. It's Game Mess Mornings. I'm Jeff Grubb. That's Ben Hanson. We're getting right back into the news. Switch to boost mode noticeably affects battery life. There is a post on Reddit that kind of just did a quick comparison for Doom 2016, although they said Doom 2019, and that there's a Doom movie that came out in 2019. I don't think that's what they're talking about. I think they meant Doom 2016.
Okay.
Anyway, they ran that on a Switch 2, and they did it once with the boost mode turned on and once with the boost mode turned off. And as a reminder, this is the boost mode that enables Switch 1 games to run on the Switch 2 as if they are running on a Switch 1 in docked mode. I hope that's not too confusing. I think most people get it. There's a lot of benefits there, but one of the detriments is that the battery life for the Switch 2 running Doom 2016 in boost mode, it went from 5 hours and 5 minutes before to 3 hours and 43 minutes. This is one of the things Nintendo did warn us about. It would affect battery life. I don't think that is like the end of the world, but that's a pretty big percentage drop in battery life.
Yeah, and do you think the idea is they wanted to delay this so they could get kind of launch impressions, launch reviews of the system out there? Because if this launched this way, then everyone would say, oh, the battery sucks, and then maybe that would make some headlines. Whereas now everyone's like, whatever, we like the Switch 2, Pocopia rules, let's move on.
For Nintendo, it's always possible because they consider every single thing like that when they launch something. I think it's probably more likely that they just were like, we'll get around to that eventually. Engineers need to focus on this check mark and this check mark more, and that'll be a nice to have eventually. And it really is a nice to have. It does improve quite a few of those games. But for Nintendo, obviously the priority was, let's get a lot of Switch 2 editions done first for a lot of these games, and then we'll worry about the leftovers when we're through the bulk of those. I mean, they're going to keep doing Nintendo Switch 2 editions, but I think they expect diminishing returns on the effect of that, starting with like Super Mario Brothers Wonder. That's getting its Switch 2 edition. That'll get a boost because of the Mario movie. I don't think it'll get such a boost because of the Switch 2 edition necessarily. So
on the Mario Wonder front, I finished that game. I had a fine time with it. The hype for that game, I feel like for people like right at launch, Reddit reviews it was over the moon. And I think you're in that arena of like being very plugged into the Mario scene. Yeah. Am I pissy about not loving that game as much as I thought I was going to, based on the fact that like, I feel like over the years since it released, I have not heard a single person talk about it. I hear more people talk about Bowser's Fury than Mario Wonder.
Yep, I do not think that you are wrong about the common sentiment now. I still really like that game because I think it's the punchiest controlling Mario platformer in a while. It just feels so good to run and jump, and that's a game. Mario games are ones where I kind of play like light versions of speedrunning games where I'm just running really fast and like taking on every obstacle instantaneously and reacting really fast and trying to like rescue myself. And it has all these great techs for doing that. So it fit with how I play Mario games really well. Everyone I've talked to sounds like they kind of have a similar situation, whether it's, as much as you do, or maybe just a little bit, they tend to agree with your general sentiment there. So I don't think you're off base.
Okay. I do want to check it out. I mean, what is it called? Welcome to Pedal Park? What's the...
Should we try to remember off the top of our heads, Ben? It's Super Mario Brothers Wonder, Nintendo Switch 2 edition plus Welcome to Bella Bell Park, or
that's
what the fuck
right.
up from Bella Bell Park, I think is what it is. Yeah,
that's right.
It's silly. It is the most absurd name that they've done for these Nintendo Switch 2 editions, and they've had a lot of those absurd names. There was the one for Mario Party, Super Mario
TV.
Party Jamboree plus Jamboree TV, Nintendo Switch 2 edition. Yeah, Nintendo's good at that.
What a mess. But I mean, that being said, I am looking forward to going back to that game. I feel like I need to give it another due, kind of, now that everyone's not talking about it. Let's actually see how this thing holds up.
Did you play any of the multiplayer, like with friends and stuff like that?
No, I think it's just a single player affair. Yeah.
So get online, get some friends together, and play through just the regular platforming stages with 4 people that you're talking to. And that really makes the game sing quite a bit more. Especially even if I played it online, Journey style, where it was just partnering me up with random people online. I really like that as well because it was fun to be like, hey, I know where this thing is. This is like this character or this person I'm playing with. Their profile name is just Mom, and it's like I want to help her out. Like I'm going to go show you where this thing is. Follow me, and that really adds a lot to the connective tissue of that game. But as the amount of hype, I think, especially for like the Wonder Seeds, I think that stuff just didn't hit the way people were expecting it to, and even for me.
Yeah, I just think if you did like a ranking of the best Mario games right when the game launched for people that were reviewing it, it'd be very high. And if they redid it now, it'd be drastically different.
Yeah, I do wonder where it would end up on mine. I really like it, but do I like it like in the way that I enjoy Super Mario Brothers 3 or Super Mario World?
Right,
Probably
right.
not.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue here. Reinstated Subnautica 2 dev says Krafton's release date announcement was potentially damaging. This comes from Blair Marnell at GameSpot. Let's go ahead and read through some of this here. It's becoming a recurring theme, but the legal drama between the leaders of Subnautica 2 developer Unknown Worlds and its parent company Krafton isn't over. Lawyers for the reinstated CEO Ted Gill and founders Charlie Cleveland and Mac McGuire say Krafton set Subnautica 2's early access release without consulting them. According to GameFile, shouts out to Stephen Totillo. Everyone go get GameFile. It's a great newsletter. The legal team for Gill, Cleveland, and McGuire filed a complaint with the court alleging that Krafton's announcement potentially damaged, quote, the game and sowed additional confusion among the Subnautica community. The letter to the court goes on to note that Unknown World studio head Steve Papoutsis, I'm never going to get that one right. What do you think? How do you think? Papoutsis?
I think Papoutsis. You know what's funny about that guy?
Papoutsis. What's funny about Papoutsis?
Couple things that are funny about Papoutsis. First of all, he was the head of Visceral. And so I interviewed him when we did a cover story at Game Informer for Army of Two Devil's Cartel, everybody's favorite Visceral game.
Of course.
But that was an interview where he insisted, we have a saying around here, and it's quad A all day. That's but
let's fucking go.
The other thing that's exciting about him is he's the bassist for the punk band No Use for a Name.
What?
Yeah, it's really weird.
Man,
it's like the least punk rock role he has in the world now.
Right.
But in theory, he has some cred.
He's got a great legal team apparently as the bassist. That's wild. Anyway, he said that the people over at Krafton have no authority to make the Subnautica 2 early release announcement because it came after Gill was reinstated to his CEO position following a recent ruling. It further contends that Krafton's announcement occurred without the, quote, significant marketing activity, fanfare, and community coordination that would have normally accompanied such news. The filing would also suggest that Krafton purposefully leaked the memo and later confirmed it in defiance of the earlier court order. So just as a reminder here, this is the situation where Krafton CEO talked to his lawyers and said, hey, we acquired Unknown Worlds. And when we did that, we promised them $250 million in bonus payouts if, when they release Subnautica 2 in early access, it reaches a certain threshold. And I'm looking at these numbers, lawyers, it's going to reach that threshold. What can we do to not pay that $250 million? Because, and he stopped to twirl his mustache and said, I'm evil. Mm-hmm. And they're like, homie, you're stuck doing this. This is it. Like, there's no way out. So he went to ChatGPT and said, how can I get out of it? It gave him some ideas, some bad ideas. He took those to his lawyers, and they're like, nope, God, please don't do that. He did it anyhow. That caused him to fire the CEO of Unknown Worlds and delay the game and all this stuff. And he got sued and has to reinstate that CEO. And as part of reinstating the CEO of Unknown Worlds, it was just declared by the judge, hey, you have to let them make the decisions about how to release this game, when they release this game, how to message it. It is up to them. And the first thing that they did after that was, at Krafton, announce the release date of the game, apparently in defiance of what the studio wanted. So the hits keep on coming, Ben. What do you make of all this?
It's like you're diving in the ocean trying to keep up with the story every time. It is so much going on. Like, the part that I'm confused about is, like, did he just tell his lawyers that he consulted with ChatGPT, or as part of the court drama here, did they get like a history of his ChatGPT searches and they saw him sneakily being like, how do I not pay human beings?
Yeah, I remember, like, early on, like when this story first broke, there's rumors that he talked to ChatGPT, and that felt like before Discovery and all that stuff. So
how do you, what? I don't understand how that gets out there.
I don't know either, but I mean, unless he was bragging about it, right? And that's the kind of thing that a guy like that would do, of like, oh, don't worry, I talked to the AI, and everyone knows that's faultless, and we can't go wrong by listening to ChatGPT. It runs the world now. That's what these guys think. So I'm guessing. I don't have any insight into that, but that would be my guess based on the temperament of the people that we're talking about here.
Yeah, it is overwhelming and confusing. And the sad part is, like, I love Subnautica. I'm looking forward to playing Subnautica 2.
A lot of people are.
I feel like every time they poke their head up to be like, here are some features in Subnautica 2, that's just drowned out by 6 other news stories about dipshits trying to keep millions of dollars.
I mean, the good news for the people at Unknown Worlds now is, despite what you just described, which is happening, the noise is just lifting up this game, and it feels like people want to buy it in defiance of Krafton. And Krafton's got a bad reputation at this point. As a reminder, they're the PUBG people. That's not why they have a bad reputation. They have a bad reputation because since then, and since working on the space sci-fi survival game.
The Glenn Schofield one.
The Glenn Schofield game, yes. Either way.
God, I gotta look it up. That's gonna
go ahead.
Me. I looked it up not too long ago.
I know.
Not the Dead Space successor. What is that game?
Callisto Protocol. Thank you, chat.
Oh my God.
Since then, they have made it no bones about it. They're like, we're an AI first company. We want to replace a lot of our studio labor with AI. So they have a bad reputation with a lot of people who are like, that sounds like that sucks shit. We don't want that. And so they that reputation is already making them the bad guys, and Unknown Worlds now the good guys. And people are hearing, hey, if we buy Subnautica 2, it's going to hurt Krafton because they have to pay these cool people $250 million, the bassist for a punk band. It's going to get a lot of money. Let's go to work, everybody. Let's go buy this game. So I think when this thing does launch, it's going to be one of those Slay the Spire 2 situations where it's like this indie game in early access launched, and look how many concurrent players it has on Steam, right?
Yeah. The TikToks are blowing up in the legal world. I don't know. Hey, on the Krafton note, did you follow the release of PUBG Blind Spot at all earlier this year? Did you see that thing?
No, I think I heard it mentioned once, and then I was just like, well, I couldn't care about anything less, and I moved on with my life. What happened with PUBG Blind Spot?
It's a bit of a blind spot for you. So did you, are you a PUBG guy in general?
I love PUBG. I still love PUBG to this day.
Okay, I do too. I mean, I haven't played it in years, but in my heart, I love PUBG. And so I was curious about this, and it's an isometric game that's focusing a lot on kind of shadows. Like wherever you're looking, you can see. But then,
so sight lines and stuff like that?
Yeah, exactly. Like you remember there's that stealth game that was shown off in the last State of Play that was kind of a similar thing of kind of isometric, focusing a lot on that. And I played it. I kind of like it. I know it's not cool to say I kind of like this Krafton game at this point, but it's fun to have a leveling of the playing field, because I'm like, at this point I'm gonna get annihilated in PUBG, but isometric shooter, I can hold my own on this team base.
Sure,
It's kind of cool.
It's a bunch of other dads playing in that game. So you're good to go. What is it? Is it on PCs, on Steam? Is it a mobile game?
Yeah, I think it's free to play on PC here. Yeah, but it's I thought it was kind of cool, but it's just a weird anomaly that I think is just going to be washed away in the tides of time.
I want to check it out now. I'll take a look. All right, moving ahead. Fortnite. Let me make sure I'm on the right one. Yeah, there we go. Fortnite adding peak skins that will probably cost more than peak itself. We're in a weird upside down world. That's just actually probably true. This is from Chris Compendio at GameSpot. Another popular indie title is crossing over with Fortnite, with skins based on Aggro Crab and Landfall's social climbing game Peak coming to the Fortnite shop this week. Aggro Crab announced the collaboration in a YouTube short, which shows 4 scouts from Peak with Fortnite character proportions. It looks like these scouts have grown taller after consuming so many berries and hot dogs. This video announces that the Peak bundle releases on March 21st. While the video doesn't include any pricing details, it's safe to predict that purchasing the Peak bundle would cost more than buying Peak itself, which is only $8. That's especially true with the price hike for Fortnite's in-game currency, V-Bucks. As of the start of Chapter 7 Season 2, players have to shell out $9 for 800 $9 for 800 V-Bucks, $23 for 2,400 V-Bucks, $37 for 4,500 V-Bucks, and $90 for 12,500 V-Bucks. That one's also wild, that aspect of it. It's like, it's your fake currency. The idea that inflation happens on that side, and then you can also raise the cost of how much a skin costs in V-Bucks. So you're getting us on both sides is the exact kind of thing that makes me scream, please, Lena Khan, come back and do something about these people.
It'd be nice. Yeah. Well, they got to pay the bills. Yeah. What are you going to do? They'll shut the lights off in that mall if
they got to buy another mall. Yeah.
Yeah, they need a sweet mall. And in the spirit of Peak, it's like 3,500 V-Bucks, that's really 5,000 V-Bucks. And 5,000 V-Bucks is really 7,500 V-Bucks, wherever that quote was from that interview a while ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah. Peak skins, sure, that makes a lot of sense. It is weird that the skins cost more than the game, right? That's just a weird thing.
Yes, I agree. Also weird to think of the fact that Aggro Crab is in the same office as Megacrit, the Slay the Spire developers.
Yes, yeah, I saw that video of them being there when they were counting down to launch it. That was very cool.
Yeah. Are there any other teams in that space? Is there something in the walls, something in the water over there? Like, that is a good office vibe for success these days.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, obviously they're probably swapping, best practices. And that's a big part of like launching a game on Steam is making sure you know all the tricks of the trade. But they also just make games that people really like, right? That's the real key, and it's impressive. We were in a world once where it's like a game like Peak, an indie game. It would cross over with all the other indie games. And Fortnite is definitely one of those ones where it's like we want to have as many crossovers as possible. We've already done every major IP. They kind of have to start working with things that maybe are a little bit less expected. But Peak is so big that this just makes sense at a certain point, right?
Yep, keep crossing over. Yeah, I want to say why not? If it gives more exposure to Peak, hey, that's a great thing. Cool move. But pricing is wonky, obviously.
Oh no, hang on.
Oh, his mic has cut out. So I'm going to use this opportunity, everybody, to talk about Epic in general, specifically Harmonix. Chat, how do you think Harmonix is doing over there within the hollowed halls of Epic? Every once in a while, I just want to get like a temperature check. I just want a meter to see like all the former Harmonix developers, how happy they are at any point. That's what I'm curious about. Oh, Jeff Grubb will be right back. People are saying they're doing bad, not great. I mean, are people playing the music rhythm game in there? I checked it out at launch, and I thought it was all right. Hey, Jan, I assume we're still live, right?
Yeah, we're still live.
All right, great. I can monologue about Harmonix for a long time if you want.
That'd be great. Thanks, Ben.
Great. Yeah, so I just read Blake Hester, friend of the show, his book that he wrote called The Oral History of Guitar Hero, Rock Band, and the Music Game Boom, which is awesome just to have like a book that walks through the entire history of Guitar Hero and Rock Band, and specifically like the culture of Harmonix, and then when Guitar Hero went over to Neversoft, how that culture was just drastically different. And the book makes it seem like Neversoft was much more kind of the hard drinking, it's cool to be edgy crowd compared to Harmonix, which is all about the music, man, and the art. Jeff Grubb, are you alive?
Yeah, this is why I appreciate doing the show with you, Ben. You could just handle things when my Goxler dies. Look, I still like the Goxler, but it's time to find something new, everybody. I tried to pushed it. I'm going to do it one more time because I'm going to need it. Let me see if it's going to work. All right, yeah, okay. The mute button actually does work, everybody. There we go. All right, let's get through the rest of the show before I shoot this thing. Destiny 2 and Magic are gathering for a big in-game collab. You can appreciate that headline from Jason Finelli over at GameSpot. While many Bungie fans are focusing on the team's new extraction shooter, Marathon, its flagship title, Destiny 2, continues to add new features, cosmetics, and collaborations. Ben, this is another one of those ones where, yeah, this makes sense because Fortnite has shown you do need these collaborations to kind of get people excited. Yeah. But a lot of other games have shown it's hard to do that if you're not Fortnite with everything. Destiny has done it with Star Wars and a handful of things where it's like, we're going to make this work our way. But it's got to be a lot more work than Fortnite, which is just the McDonald's of like, hey, we can include anything in these Happy Meals. Right. So them finding a partner like Magic the Gathering to make that kind of collaboration make sense, and it's also one that should move the needle. It's like, okay, yeah, you're working with a much shorter list of possible partners, but you are finding ones that people should get excited about and also won't be like, that doesn't make sense in my Destiny 2, right?
Yeah, I feel like Magic, that tone could kind of work with space wizards that come from the moon. That feels like a Magic type thing. But it made me think about just a vision of the future. We're like, you think Marathon's going to struggle with collaborations? Because it's such a distinct tone that eventually when they do have the Arby's collaboration, people are going to riot.
Yeah, I do. But it's, they started that game a while ago. And, that is one of the things that caused the downfall of factions, the multiplayer aspect of The Last of Us Part 2. It's like, yeah. I remember talking to some sources at the time, and they were like, hey, we're going to go in there and look at this. And it was people from Bungie went in there and hey, okay, you're going to have to try to make this game work with a bunch of potential collaborations. Are you prepared for that? And no one at Naughty Dog really was. They're like, we'll just try some different kinds of skins from our universe. And even that was going to be a lot of work for them. That was the other side of it. It was just going to be a ton of labor to make those things. And it's like, if you can't do that, a game like this maybe does not stand as much of a chance to go up against something like Fortnite. So yeah, I think Marathon will have some struggles with that. They obviously are very creative to make it make sense in some cases. And we are talking about something that is probably years off for them, because it did kind of take years for Destiny to get to that point where they were like, hey, we need to be monetizing the people who are most dedicated to us and giving them the stuff they're excited about. But Marathon will certainly get there. So yeah, I do think it will struggle. But that's, hey, Marathon's not defense, but like to put the check mark, it's a $40 game still. Destiny has shifted to a free-to-play game. Yeah. So they are a long way off from having to solve that. And the game seems like, to me, I don't know, you tell me, Ben, like what you think based on the response from people, Marathon's found its footing and has established itself as a cool thing on its own, right?
Yep, I think so. Even if it's not a juggernaut, I think it's, in my mind, it's a success so far, even if people are zooming in on player count numbers and all that stuff on Steam and obsessing about it. But I do want to know about Magic the Gathering, about just like, it feels like the last 3 years, 4 years have just been like, they should be analyzed for how to keep a property like that alive. And is it just like the crossovers with Final Fantasy and other stuff that just like is putting it over the map there?
I mean, obviously that stuff is helping, right? The Final Fantasy numbers we heard was, when they launched that, the biggest entertainment like weekend ever. It made more money than anything did, like $2 billion in a day or two or something like that. Yes, it was bigger than any movie, bigger than any video game launch. That set just crushed. And so obviously that is helping. But to me, it's like the excitement comes from both sides of that. Final Fantasy people were into it. Magic the Gathering people were into it. And so it's like, where's all this excitement from Magic the Gathering coming from? And it's just, they just are paying attention to that audience and nurturing it slowly but surely over time. And it's paid off for them. I bet people who are into it have much more in-depth opinions about what that looks like and feels like. And I know there's always the contention between, hey, do we like these collaborations with outside things as opposed to original Magic the Gathering art, but they still do those as well. So yeah.
And it seemed like it was really well done, but it made me think of remember they made that Magic game that was on the cover of Game Informer called Magic Legends. That was kind of like a Diablo-like.
Yeah.
And it feels like that game just exploded. I don't even think it launched. I think they killed it off before it launched and pretended it never existed. But it seems like that was maybe the low point. And I feel like ever since that point in 2021, Magic has just been on this upward climb that's really commendable.
All right, last couple of stories here. Jim Carrey is back for Sonic the Hedgehog 4 with big stars in tow. This is also from Chris Compendio over at GameSpot. As the live-action Sonic the 4 movie ramps up production, we finally have official confirmation that Jim Carrey, among other stars, is returning to the franchise, and he'll be joined by other prolific Hollywood actors new to the series. Per Variety, Carrey will don the mustache and goggles yet again as Dr. Robotnik. Variety also reported that Idris Elba, who's Knuckles, Keanu Reeves, who is Shadow, Colleen O'Shaughnessy, who is Tails, James Marsden, who is a human, Tika Sumpter, who is, I think, also a human being, and Lee Majdoub, who is the Agent Stone character. They're all returning. Additionally, Ben Kingsley and Nick Offerman are offering their voices as well to characters, sounds like animated characters. Matt Berry and Richard Ayoade also joined the cast. And then Ben Schwartz, of course, is back as Sonic, and Kristen Bell is Amy Rose. So we did get Ben Kingsley and Nick Offerman as confirmed in the movie, but we don't know who they're voicing. People are saying Nick Offerman might be playing Big the Cat.
That makes sense.
I love that. That makes a ton of sense.
I think that's a very cozy voice for Big the Cat. Dear Froggy, where did you go? I can hear his voice saying it now. Yeah, Kingsley probably Rouge the Bat. I don't know.
Right? No one else has the gravitas to pull that off.
I think so. Yeah. By the way, still amazing that this feels like, I don't think it was a good idea, but I do. But that they let the Tails voice actor have that role. When they're shoving just Hollywood talent everywhere else, and they're like, you know what, we'll throw you a bone. Here you go, Tails voice actor. You can't be top. Like, good get for her that she's locking that down.
And it shows, like, we hear about the Nintendo working on its movies and Miyamoto's like deeply involved in all this stuff. We don't necessarily hear that same sort of thing about Sega's collaboration with these films. But it does sound like the people making the Sonic movies are tapped in enough to know that that was a very smart and cool move. Like they have all the star power, the way that these movies have needed since, Robin Williams was in Aladdin as the genie, right? You got to have that star power, at least in the opinion of the people who produce those films. And they have that, and they have enough so to be like, okay, can we, like you said, throw a bone to not just the voice actor, but to the community that really knows this actor. Yeah, that it just feels, it shows a keen sense of awareness of how to like please this audience. And I'm kind of a big fan of these movies now, especially after Sonic 3. That is such a fun movie. If they can keep that energy going, I will be showing up for them continuously.
They're great plane movies. I've enjoyed watching all of them. I do have this feeling where they get so much praise that I'm always wanting to come in a little bit like, does anybody care about James Marsden and his girlfriend? Like that entire storyline is like a big chunk of all these movies, and it sucks. No one likes looking at it.
It's bad. It's almost like it shows how good the rest of the movie is by comparison when you get to those spots. Yeah. For me, it's all about Jim Carrey doing the cool dance moves and stuff like that. He really nailed it in Sonic 3. It was a good time.
Just think about what you said. To me, the Sonic movie is good because Jim Carrey does dance moves.
Yeah, and it is. It's wild what makes those movies actually tick. It's impressive.
I don't know if you have this thought too, but like I think the action in those movies is really well done, especially in the third one. Like the choreography is like this is great. And I have the same thought when I'm watching the trailers for the Mario movie, the Mario Galaxy movie, where there's a part of me that feels like, are we going too hard in making these kids movies action movies? Like the choreography from like the fight scenes in the Mario Galaxy movie, it looks like The Matrix 5. I'm like, what is going on here? It's almost like too much effort is being put into it, but I guess I'm not complaining.
It's almost like the people making, doing that work can't help themselves because they probably all come from that world of making Marvel action movies and stuff like that. So that's a big part of it. I'm looking forward to it. I think the Super Mario Galaxy movie looks like a lot of fun. I'm going to show up day one for that. And that's, I know what to expect from that one. I don't think it's going to be as good as Sonic 3, the movie, but hey.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's so much fun. Yeah, I'll watch Sonic 3 every day if I could.
Hey, you're a news hound, right? You want to dive back into the past again? What do you make of that weird leak? I'm trying to remember where it was. I think it was like on some merch that it was like, hey, it was in an announcement from Illumination, like buried in an email or something, right? That the name of the next Mario movie was going to be Super Mario World. Do you remember that?
I do, yeah.
And then like 2 months later, it's like, it's Super Mario Galaxy. It's like, wait, do you think they pivoted with the name of the movie?
No, my guess would be, and I think we speculated about this at the time, that the person putting together that press release wasn't as tapped in as we would think. They might have just been like, hey, what should I put down here? And someone's like, I don't know, it's probably gonna be, is it Super Mario World or maybe Super Mario Galaxy? And they just wrote down the first one. That would be my guess. Yeah. I don't think it was. It came down from the people actually making those decisions, and then they changed their mind. I think it's something a lot more akin to a mistake.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm just thinking about it more and more with, it seems like, the Pikmin stuff you all talked about on the Bombcast this week, but if they are going more into that world of there's different dimensions, different worlds, different galaxies.
Galaxy serves them so well for that, right? Where it's like, now we could do the multiverse thing or just different planets, right? Hopefully, I hope it's not multiverse. I hope it's just, there is a planet where Fox McCloud lives. And his spaceship shows up in the end credits scene, and that's how they tease the Smash Brothers movie. Mike said this, and I agreed with him. I hope that it takes a while to get to the Smash Brothers movie, and they give all of these characters their own film first, so that there's a long build up. But do you think that's possible?
Hey, look, come on, man.
Yeah,
we got to sit down as adult nerds here. We're saying, we're happy that Star Fox is in a movie, but he needs his own movie before we get to Smash.
I know. Look,
how greedy are we? Come on, man. Just
right.
We should be just celebrating and throwing popcorn at the screen like it's a chicken jockey that Fox McCloud might show up on a big screen, right?
Yep. And they are gonna just rush to the Smash Brothers thing. That's such a big name. The people at Illumination know that. They would want to.
Yep.
They would want to do it pretty quickly.
And you talk about fight scenes. I mean, that's going to be incredible. And I think I understand that we don't want to rush to the Justice League thing, but I think there's something to that in terms of like we want to I don't know, build up to that storyline. Whereas like Smash Brothers, there's a magic hand that picks up toys and they fight each other. Like there's no story. Subspace Emissary. What is the story that?
Yes.
We don't care about gravitas for that. Like the sooner we get to seeing a bunch of Nintendo characters fighting on screen on a big screen, I'm honestly happier. I'm fine.
Yep. All right. Last.
Hang on.
Story
You said
here.
yep. You mean Mike Minotti is dead wrong and I'm dead right? Is that what that yep meant?
Oh, every time, Ben. Of
Thank
course, you
you.
just come on here and you should just burst into these calls sometimes and correct the record and put him in his place. That's what I need. Kana Bridge of Spirits, which is the first. It's Kana, isn't it? Kana Bridge of Spirits hits Switch on March 26th. That is the first one that was confirmed by the eShop. I'm rushing through that because there is another story here that we want to hit real quick that just broke. Europe might be forcing Nintendo to revise the Switch 2. According to the reporting at the Nikkei, which is a Japanese news source, they might be forced by European regulations, and I guess it wouldn't just be Nintendo, but they're reporting at the Nikkei, and they're focusing on Nintendo. So the Switch 2 might have to be redesigned to have a replaceable battery because of European regulations. I don't hate that. I love that, in fact, especially if it's like it would apply to the DualSense, right? I spend a lot of money on these controllers, and I feel like I can notice the battery degradation very quickly in a matter of months, not years. And it's always one of the reasons that, preferred is maybe strong, but I appreciate the Xbox controller having just put in AA batteries. I get some decent rechargeable AA batteries, and that's worked well for me. Having it replaceable is a huge benefit because these are expensive things and I want them to last forever. I want to be able to use these controllers 25 years from now, and having to break it open to replace the lithium ion battery, well, I might forget and that thing could bulge and cause problems. Yeah, this seems good to me.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, the last time I tried to use my Wii U, that gamepad is just unusable on the battery point of it. I mean, it needs to be plugged in at all times.
You just got to be plugged in all the time. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And so the more customizable options here, the better, I think.
Yep. Project Cafe points out Switch Pro controller lasts forever. One of my favorite controllers. That's fair. The Switch 2 Pro controller I have is kicking ass still. That's a good controller.
Hey, do you ever, we hear so much about battery life for all these things and talking about, boost mode, battery life and all that stuff. How often are you really testing that out? Do you ever pull like a full wire cutter situation? Like, all right, I'm going to run this so I can test it personally to see how long this is actually going to go.
No, I and even when I was like testing this stuff, I would always kind of go on real life situations. I want it to be like, did I notice poor battery life using it the way a human would use these things? That was kind of always my angle when I was doing like more hardware coverage. And so I kind of try to maintain that. And it's like, with the DualSense, I do notice it. That is a problem for me. I will pick up that controller, and more often than not, the battery will be dead. Despite the fact that I think the last time I used that, I played for like an hour and a half. What's going on there? And it's like, I think that is more useful. Well, it's useful in conjunction with the people that do the hard reviews and the scientific style reviews. And it's like, I compare that up with my experience, and that sounds right to me. And I think that's kind of how I would always look at it.
Yep, I'm totally with you.
All right, that does it for the headlines, everybody. We have a poll question from yesterday. Let's go ahead and hop over to that. I'm refreshing. Let's get the freshest results. This is from yesterday. Are you getting Crimson Desert? This poll mostly happened after the reviews. So people who read the reviews said 61% said no, they're not going to get it. 15% said they don't know what that is. Like, what is that? And then 23% said yes. So, nearly a quarter of the audience are like, hey, I'm in for it. Now, of course, a lot of those people could be saying yes when it's on sale, but still any sort of intent to buy, that's a pretty big number. This game could still just, peel away from this moment where it's already doing very successful and take over the world still. I do wonder what the conversation will be like around it at the end of the year, Ben. I don't know what to expect there.
I don't know if it's going to be GOTY territory. It has that weird groundswell. I don't know. God, what am I blanking on? What was the European game in the 1500s from last year? Kingdom Come Deliverance, right?
Oh, yeah. Kingdom Come Deliverance. It feels
a little bit of that, of just kind of like, it feels like there is a groundswell that I'm not tapped into that is all on board for this, And so it seems like it has that momentum without the game of the year contention at this point so far.
Yep. I definitely think that's like this one will come in even kind of under Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
All right. It's no new poll question today, everybody, because we're going to end up the week with the Bomb 12 as always. We'll get to that here in a second. So let's wrap up everything else. Ben, why don't you tell people where they can find you on the internet? What's going on with MinnMax? All that good stuff.
Yeah, MinnMax. It's a YouTube channel and podcast network. You can subscribe to MinnMax, the MinnMax show on your favorite podcast app. Again, we had Eric Wolpaw from Portal fame just gushing about Slay the Spire 2. So if you're into those two things, then that podcast episode might be for you. But we also have Pew Pew Bang, which is our women-led podcast. The new episode just dropped, and it's all about
it's
the
the one podcast I still listen to. I've been, when I get a chance, I need more recommendations from you about podcasts to listen to, but yeah,
Sure.
Pew Pew Bang is the one I don't miss.
Yeah, it's so fun. So they all bought PSPs and were playing it and kind of unpack their experience and run down the history of the launch of the PSP and all that stuff, which is fun to hear. But on the podcast front, Friends Per Second, very good.
Oh, yeah.
Into the Aether is my most recent.
I listened to that because, yes, I heard you recommend it once, and I was listening to that while I was traveling the other day. I love Into the Aether.
Well, there we go. Yeah, it's fantastic. Yep. Otherwise, Trivia Tower. We have our community video game trivia show. It's coming back on the 31st of March on that Tuesday. So if you support MinnMax on Patreon at even the $2 tier, you can compete in game trivia and win game codes and a whole bunch more. So if you fancy knowing a thing or two about video games, this is your test. You know, maybe Callisto Protocol will show up and then you can struggle to remember that name, that type of thing. So.
That's one typo, everybody. That's all you get. I actually don't remember if that's the rule.
That's it. That is the rule. You got it.
That is the rule. All right, let's see. Giant Bomb has some stuff happening today. In fact, I'll just click over on the calendar and make sure I get it all. Let's see. Yeah, we're going to be doing the UPF today. It's going to be a co-op play of Slay the Spire 2. We have Bailey Myers coming in to help us out. She knows her shit, so that's going to be really helpful. Later this evening, everybody, I think this is the name, everybody. I think we got it. Jan woke up. I got a message on Discord. What would be, I think, Jan's 5:30 a.m. I think he shot out of bed, had this, and ran to Discord to say, Launch-a-thon! The Launch-a-thon for Crimson Desert's going to be happening at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific today, everybody. Mike's going to play the game for several hours from the beginning. And I think, like a lot of you, I'm curious to see what he thinks. He comes at these games from a very different angle than I would. He's played a lot of MMOs. I think he's going to have a lot more patience for stuff that I don't have the patience for. So I'm looking forward to seeing what his early opinions are of that game, and we're all going to be able to do that together here for the Launch-a-thon.
Smart. Now, hang on. This is launch look. I get is messy. I'm in the camp of just call everything a quick look. Why not? It doesn't mean anything anymore. But Launch-a-thon, that implies like over 4 hours for the stream. Is that he usually does over? Yes, he usually does about 5 hours, I would say. Okay, that feels like a thon.
Yes. It's a long playthrough through the evening, and I don't think he's ever done less than 4 hours. 4 hours might be the minimum he's done, but usually it's like 5 to 6.
Awesome.
All right, I think with all that out of the way, it's time for the Bomb 12, everybody. These are the 12 games that really matter to people who are really playing video games. This week, I have the results right here. In fact, I'm going to go get to the list I sent to Jan as he puts it on the screen for you, everybody. Let's go ahead and start with number 12, which is Street Fighter 6, getting that Alex bump, which I guess has also a lot of implications, but we'll just move on. Karen at number 11, World of Warcraft Midnight at number 10. Number 9 is Death Stranding 2. Number 8 is Monster Hunter Stories 3. Number 7 is Crimson Desert. Number 6 is Esoteric Ebb. Number 5 is Umo Musume. I think that's how you say it. Number 4 is Slay the Spire 2. Then 3 is Resident Evil Requiem. Number 2 is Marathon, and number 1 still is Pokemon Pocopia. That deservedly so, in my opinion. Did you get into Pocopia at all?
Yeah. I need to spend more time with it, but I am loving it. It is making me so happy, and it's just that. It's weird to just have like good, funny writing from a Pokemon game. It's something we've never had, period.
Yeah, the characters are all hilarious, and I like spending time in that world. And I like any game that does make tasks feel cool and pleasurable, and then kind of is building you up to feeling good about taking on bigger things that maybe come from your own desire to be like, I appreciate that you've taught me how to build a house, because now I think I want to go build a cool like seaside mansion or villa or something, and I have the skills to do that. There is an art to that is just brimming in Pocopia, and I'm sure it was in Dragon Quest Builders, which I never played. All right. Hey, if you want to submit your game for the Bomb 12 for next week, you can do so. Go to giantbomb.com. If you scroll down a little bit, you could see this week's Bomb 12, which I'll update here very soon. And then on the left-hand side there's a Vote Here link. You click there, it takes you to a Google form, submit your game, and you can contribute to the Bomb 12. We really appreciate everyone who does so. Every week, it's about 600 or 700 people that do so. So thank you, everyone. Really means a lot. All right. Ben, I think with all that out of the way, I got to do this. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Appreciate jumping on. I'm down for jumping on whenever I can.
Yeah, let's make it happen again soon. Thank you all for watching and listening. You are the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.